Right, Luke Woods of Apptiq. It's really splendid to have you with us here today.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mayfair and the Outcomes Business Group Business Podcast.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Luke, Managing Director of Apptiq, the technology man that knows all about business applications. Before we get some info about you, Luke, and your background, a few questions.
Sure.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert, for sure.
Introvert?
Yes.
Okay. Comes across very well, though, that's for sure. I mean, I would say that you're a people's person, the way you come across, so maybe that's a learned conditioning.
I mean, I've always been a very introverted person, be it from a technical perspective, because I'm just that way inclined, but I've become very extroverted in the sense of getting to know people, build relationships, growing the business. However, from a strengths point of view, I'm very much more staying inside, getting processes working, delivering work, doing the in the business kind of stuff.
So that turns out to be a great combination. You've got the best of both worlds there. Yeah. Luke, lager or ale?
So I actually don't drink anymore. I decided to wrap it up when I was 24. I decided to stop drinking altogether so I could focus on my work and just, it's cheaper.
Has
easier.
that worked for you?
Massively. I mean, now I used to have a bookshelf full of whiskey, which had about lots of money worth of whiskey, and I gave it all away, and now it's just full of books, which I read regularly. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
And probably the best thing of it all is that you're probably saving a lot of money, Luke.
Yes, I do save a fortune.
Yeah. So, Luke, if you could choose to have coffee with any one historical person, who would it be and why?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. There's a lot of great people out there that, sadly not with us anymore. But to be fair, the number one person would be Nelson Mandela, because he had such an inspiring movement. And I mean, there's a great quote that I sort of got up here that basically says, he said once, "A winner is a dreamer who never gives up," and that is so true to what I've gone through in business. You just, no matter what happens, whether it's really, really difficult, really, really good, you must stay the course. You must be consistent, must be tenacious. And so that's lived with me for a long time.
That's great, and dream big.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Good man to take a quote from, Nelson Mandela. Right. So a few more background questions.
Sure.
You've been around in technology for a while.
Yes.
You were at Salesforce.
Yep.
What were you doing at Salesforce, Luke?
So I used to work for a Salesforce implementation partner. So I didn't work directly for Salesforce, but I implemented their system basically. Yeah. And I was a technical consultant. I got quite heavily certified. I ended up learning a lot of my consultative and people skills from doing that job.
Sure.
So I'm grateful for doing it. And I used to just help clients implement the CRM to help their business be more efficient, essentially.
Great. So what's one lesson your career has taught you that you think everybody should learn at some point in their life?
There's a lot, but the main thing I would say is similar to what I mentioned about the quote, is no matter how difficult something really gets, is to stay the course. Because in business there are some great peaks, which are like really big highs, but there are some very deep troughs sometimes. And if you love what you do enough to stick the course, every single time I've realised that once you get through the tough times, the tougher it is, the bigger the win the other side. So it's about consistency.
Over the weeks when we've spoken, Luke, we've had quite a few conversations around resilience. So I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting to see what your business's trajectory is at the moment.
Thank you.
If you could go back to 18-year-old Luke, was he good or was he naughty?
18-year-old good, funnily enough, was quite good. I think in my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, I think in my whole
Look
life.
Straight to my eyes, he really was good.
Yeah, he was very good. Because funnily enough, just before I turned 18, that's when I learned about entrepreneurship and self-development. And I think in my whole life I've been clubbing less than 10 times. I went out. I never really went out. I've always worked a lot.
Yeah.
And 18-year-old person was good.
So what would the gold dust piece of advice be for 18-year-old Luke, if you could give it to him now, looking back?
Yes, looking back, big time. Number one, massive keyword is focus. So when I was 18, I had lots of different things I was getting involved with, a job and lots of other side hustles. For me, stick with the one thing you know. Build that one thing. Once you build that one, you can build more.
I like that. What one small change have you made over this past year, and since we've been working together, Luke, that has brought you value?
Sure. So I do make a lot of changes throughout everything I do. However, there is one, what might seem minor, but has made a massive difference for me, and that, as crazy as it might sound, is putting a book in the bathroom. So when you're going to the loo, it's a book where you tend to have shorter chapters, so you can read a chapter at a time. But that's allowed me to speed through a lot more books and absorb a lot more knowledge, which is more beneficial than it sounds.
That sounds great. You probably spend an inordinate amount of time in the loo, because I know that you do read a lot. Sometimes
if the book is good, I'll read 2 or 3 chapters before I know the time has gone.
No more. Shall we move on then?
Yes.
Small movement there. A few questions about apps. Why do apps add value to one's business? So if someone's listening to Luke Woods of Apptiq today, why should they consider, what would be the reason they would want an application for their business?
So, I mean, there are a lot of reasons as to why you'd have an app in a business, and I can't go through all those because there's 101 reasons for every industry. However, the majority, or the most general reason, is because you're looking for ways to basically eradicate challenges or difficulties in the business. But where we need to look at this in terms of sort of finding the value for your business is understanding how you can, where you're spending too much time. Too much time equals money, so you're losing money. That's when you look at, okay, if it's costing me 30 grand a year on this admin spending, I don't know, a day a week doing this thing, well, if you could have an app that could automate that thing, you then can alleviate that 30 grand cost, which is, and get that lady or person, admin, to do something else. So it's really about finding those challenges and finding something that works specifically for you instead of going for a generic piece of software.
Interesting, Luke. So when should a business owner start looking at getting an application for his business?
Sure. I mean, there are a bunch of times. I would say apps are very suited for businesses that are looking to grow. If you're not too large and you want to keep it small, it might be a bit of overkill. However, if you're starting to hit barriers, starting to hit walls where you really want to make sure, perhaps you want to streamline your team or really optimize the team and make them better. Yeah. It's starting to look for things that you just want to automate. Or a good thing I normally say to people is write a list of everything you do, tick all the things you like doing, and then see if you can automate the rest. And that's when you start looking at apps.
Okay, that's interesting. So write a list of all the things that you do.
Yep.
Tick all the things that you like doing.
Yep.
And automate the rest.
Yeah, basically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So apps aren't just for the big companies such as massive big corporations. So this is something that even small, medium enterprises can get involved in and get an app for their business.
100%. There's a big, from my experience, there's a big sort of, to some degree, a misconception of how expensive an app actually is. Whereas realistically, if you look at the full picture, yes, an app can be very expensive, but if you then break that down to small little chunks at a time to think how they can solve little problems one at a time, which is arguably how you build any piece of software or solve any problem, you do it step by step, it makes it much more affordable. It's much more cost effective.
You talk about saving money. That's quite good. Saving time.
Yes.
That's even better. Because then you can spend more time with your loved ones.
Yep.
But how can the business owner know that app is definitely going to add value to their business?
So the main thing really is part of that happens during the initial process. So when we start talking to someone, the first thing we'll ever do is dig down and understand the value. We will make sure that there is something it will solve. If it doesn't solve a problem or save them money, or perhaps say the app costs 50 grand to build, but it's only going to generate them 10 grand worth of revenue a year and take 5 years to pay itself off, it's not worth investing the money into. We will make sure there's a solid reason, a solid pain point or challenge or whatever, however you want to word it, that it will resolve before we move forwards.
Luke, let's go on to Apptiq.
Sure.
When we first spoke not that long ago, you had a sales pipeline, a 5-figure pipeline.
Yes.
You now have a 7-figure pipeline. So you've done that quickly. So well done.
Thank you.
What's the Apptiq USP?
So really, it's about relationships, which I know people throw that word around quite a bit, and I used to be a sucker for that too. But it's really understanding. It's taking more time to understand people and really focus on the customer service. We want to make sure that customers get the best service. They also know us very well, and we know them very well, even to a personal level, because there's lots of other bonuses we can do that work with us. But it's that relationship is what makes us different.
So that's basically why your pipeline's looking good. Tell us a little bit about, have you hit the ground running in 2022? I know that you did lots of planning at the back end of 21 for your first quarter in 2022.
Yep.
It looks like it's paying off. Tell us, what's your prognosis for Q1?
Q1 is looking to, realistically, by the end of Q1, we should have made more money in that quarter than we have since the business began as a whole. So it's quite significant, and it really does fall back to that relationship building is how we've got there.
Yeah, I must say it's been really exciting working with you. It hasn't actually been a roller coaster ride. It's been like a rocket, like a rocket ship.
Yep.
Yeah. All this business that you've got coming in, this great pipeline, and there's apps flowing through your organization all the time. How is the delivery going? It's one thing to get your marketing right and to get your lead generation right and to get those relationships, but then delivery time comes along.
Yes. So we quite cleverly use outsourcing to deliver a lot of the work, because outsourcing is much quicker to scale. We have a lot of trusted partners that we use to deliver everything that also cover all the different niches. We're even talking things down to cryptos, NFTs, games, augmented reality, as well as, of course, more generic apps. So we've covered all those bases, and if we need more people, like I say, we have a big pool of people that we call on to help us.
Great. Luke, so there are people out there that surely must be thinking, now's the time for me to have a discussion with somebody, whether investing in an app could be a good idea. What's the entry level to the marketplace for the little mom and pop shop that may want to build an application for their shop?
So in terms of cost or investment, it's really...
I'm glad you said investment.
Yes, I corrected myself there.
That means that there's a return coming.
Yes, exactly. There's always a return. It's as a little side story. I've turned people away in the past where there's just not been enough investment. It's like the investment, has not been worth the reward. So we don't. We've had to turn people away, which is a shame, but it's better for our credibility. But in terms of getting smaller businesses involved, normally the average price starts at around about 15,000. But of course, the beauty of it is we can do 12-month payment plans, because we just want people to have apps. We'd rather you have an app and have that success. And if it's going to cost you 15,000, it might make you 30, 40, 50,000 back. So you can maybe take that investment of $6,000 up front, or not up front, over 6 months whilst you build it. Then you're still paying for it for the next 6 months, but you're starting to get that value back.
Yeah.
So you're paying for it whilst it's also helping you, if that makes sense. So it's...
All right, so it is possible for the small business owner out there to have a payment plan to invest in an app and
100%. I mean, there's lots more ways of doing it than that, but there's a lot of options.
So, Luke, let me ask you about the perfect avatar or company. Who's your ideal client?
Sure. So this is a difficult question to answer. I've been thinking about it quite a bit. However, I feel like I've nailed it at last. For me, it's a growing business. So people that are interested in getting even more revenue or more people or both. And also those that are very interested in technology. They want to take that step in a new direction that, to be honest, apps haven't been explored as much as people think. There are millions of apps on the App Store, but a lot of them are for the individual, not for the business. I know it's very broad, but they're the two main things. People that want to grow and people that realise tech is the way to do that. They're the main things, because we work with every kind of industry.
Okay, so people that are growing, people that want to get more out of their businesses, become more efficient, save time, save money. cut costs, increase revenues. So could you tell the listeners what different industries you work with?
Sure.
What different companies are you looking to work with in the future with Apptiq?
Sure. So for the first part, we've worked with a wide range over the period of the business. We've worked with, just to list them very quickly, business coaches, mortgage brokers, schools, construction, which is interior builders, massive commercial steelworks. We've covered quite a range of businesses. However, in the future now, we're moving on to more healthcare. There is even some possibility around NFTs and crypto, games, augmented reality, as well as some other newer things around some sort of more exciting big ideas, kind of like Deliveroo style big.
Okay.
Big.
That sounds really good.
Secret projects, yeah.
I've heard you in our sessions mention some exciting names and brands which probably can't be exposed to. We'll save those we'll have you back sometime.
Sure.
So it seems to make sense that if you're a business owner, and even if you're a SME business owner, that you should explore apps so people could get hold of you and they could have a conversation with you.
Yeah, probably one of my favourite sayings is it's always worth the conversation. It's always worth a chat, because you never know, even if it's not now, it's always good to be. The biggest thing is a lot of people say to me, we haven't got the budget, which is absolutely fine. But if you don't know how much it's going to cost you or what the investment's going to be, you will forever have that mindset. So sometimes having that conversation just to see where it can go and how it can help is another important thing, because once again, because apps are so new in the business world, people don't always tend to understand or know how it can help them. They'll just Google it and look for an existing piece of software until that is not good enough, and then they'll change it. But yeah, anyway.
Well, you've heard from Luke today that it's always worth the conversation. So if you think that your SME could be ripe for a business application, get hold of Luke of Apptiq. But Luke, where can people find you online?
To be honest, people can find me all over. LinkedIn's a great one. I can share my email. And also, I've now even started a TikTok series. So I am actually on TikTok and Instagram. So I'm starting to become sort of part of the cool kids.
Okay, and do you have a website?
I do have a website, yes. It's www.apptiq.co.uk. I'm sure we'll throw a link in somewhere. And if you're lucky, you'll see the old version. If you're really lucky, you'll see the new version coming very soon.
That's great. So Luke, it's been awesome to have you with us today. Thank you for these nuggets around business applications and telling us about your business Apptiq. Before I let you go, what's the one question you wish I'd asked you, and how would you have answered?
So that's an interesting. I like that question. To be honest, the question I wish you would have asked could have been. I would probably say what's a good question I like to tell people, because I like to talk about books. I like reading and learning, is to ask what my favourite book is, or one of my 2 or 3 favourite books.
Okay. And
so what I would have answered with was sort of my book number 1 that I like is a book from Jeffrey Gitomer, the sales coach.
Yes.
It's called I think it's very small but powerful book of closing. Basically, he's got lots of books like that. That's very, very good. I also like Marcus Sheridan's. They ask, you answer, which is, as a marketing technique, is phenomenal. And then I am quite into learning about sales, because it helps me both in the business and in life. So there is another book I quite like called Inked by Jeb Blount.
That's
which
right.
is a really powerful book. It's got all sorts of negotiation and sales techniques.
Yeah.
There's a list of books I love as well about other things, but for business, they're the 3.
Luke, I know you read a lot.
Yeah.
We discuss the books almost weekly.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your insight around business applications, and we look forward to having you back at some stage. That's Definitely. Luke Woods of Apptiq.
Yeah,
thank you, Luke.
Thank you very much for having me. Cheers, Doug.